everyone. Welcome back to episode 18 of Tech Talk. I'm Michelle, and I'm with my co-host,
Ryan.
Here's the question we should address right away. Have we been replaced?
No, we haven't. We're here in the flesh.
Quick, how many R's are in strawberry?
3.
Good answer. Yeah, so for the audience that don't know, if you ask an LLM how many R's are in strawberry, they may just tell you 2.
Wow.
Yeah, so because we're able to give the right answer, we prove that we're here in the flesh.
Exactly.
Today we're going to talk all about the Apple news and take an in-depth look into Apple's newest publications on LLMs.
Craig.
Yep. Apple's head of software, Craig Federighi, have done an interview with Wall Street Journal's Joanna Stern, and I have some thoughts about this interview.
Yeah, let's hear them.
I thought this interview really put Apple in a positive light, and Craig is a great spokesman for Apple.
So you think their pull-out game was strong, huh?
I'm not going to address the pull-out game until later, but
Oh, shit, sorry.
I'm going to address what they said about Apple Intelligence and why does Apple seem to be late into the AI game. Craig, the head of software, reiterated that privacy in the context of AI is very important to Apple, and that's why they built the private cloud compute.
I remember they made a big deal about the private cloud compute.
Yeah, they made a big deal of that in their WWDC 2.4 event, but they didn't explain why. And here he was able to explain why and fill that hole of logic. So the gist is private cloud compute is hard to build.
Yeah, really
That's
difficult
all
to
he
build.
needed to say.
I see. It's difficult to build, but it also, I'm sure if they did internal polling, security was probably the number one concern for everybody when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
And so they realized, all right, we have to get this right. We cannot mess this up or else it could be fatal for our endeavor.
Yeah. So why is private cloud compute so special? So think about it. A lot of places we go to, maybe your work or like, your apartment building, you get this little key card, right? You tap it and it beeps.
Yeah.
And then it is logged somewhere that you, with a specific identifier, have entered this door
That building.
at this time. Yeah, exactly. That is just one example of how all of our data is being recorded constantly.
Yeah, location. And think about, I'm always like turning off the location on my phone and I get like a message 10 seconds later. How come it's off? Where are you?
Exactly. Just imagine if an AI model gets a hold of all these information and know you better than even you know yourself.
Yeah.
So the point of private cloud compute is if you ever require more power than your local device, such as your iPhone, it gets sent to a local server-like place. But as soon as the computation is done, it gets erased, like the data was never sent there in the first place. You're not going to be able to find any trace of it.
I like that. Oh, and I remember one of the really cool features of the phone was that you could even hide your apps.
Yeah.
So that like Apple is trying to convince people like your information is going to be safe. What you do in your spare time is going to be safe. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Be you.
At least give the illusion that that's what's going to happen. From what I heard, like LAPD loves Apple.
Oh, geez.
Which means that Apple will give them what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's beyond the point. Let's focus on Craig and what Craig is trying to say here.
Yeah.
So their philosophy of privacy is contradictory to other companies' philosophy. Because every other company out there is always trying to cheat the system in a way by keeping your data anytime they collect anything. So the next time when they're trying to recommend something to you or trying to give you an answer you're seeking, they already have a big log of data from you. So they can give you an answer that is essentially trained and biased based on your preference.
Based on your previous experience.
And that is what Craig said. So basically, to elevate Apple's privacy, he kind of had to throw every other company under the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And state the obvious for the mass consumer that aren't in this field.
Yeah. As a side tangent, and why this is so disconcerting is with my Android phone, I'll be talking with you out loud, and then 5 minutes later, I'll get an ad on my phone about what we were talking about. And it's like, well, yeah, okay, I do like this product, but why am I getting this ad? How is this even possible, right? And I'm no conspiracy theorist. I mean, this has been repeated over and over again. Exactly. And so Apple doesn't want that reputation. But they also want to be able to tailor your experience exactly to you. So they're trying to find a way to do it that's not as invasive.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think they could achieve that.
Exactly. And they want it to be Apple Intelligent. They sold the dream that you say, oh, I want to pick up flowers for my wife and get to my daughter's recital. Do this for me now. And Apple is supposed to be able to load up the map, get you to the store, get you to the school for the recital. But it's like, how are they going to do that without being overly invasive, right? And so they want to make sure you've given them permission to do it and everything.
And then they do it right at that second in their private cloud compute and erase all trace of it afterwards. So they have to do it fresh.
Every time.
From scratch, every time.
Exactly.
Compared to other companies, they're going to say, it looks like it's time for you to buy your wife flowers.
Yeah, and they've already got a coupon for you ready and everything.
That's definitely a little bit scary.
Yeah.
And another example of Apple wanting to do the AI responsibly is even though they're releasing the feature of altering the photo, for example. So you and I are sitting here. So in the example of the Wall Street Journal, Craig and Joanna Stern are sitting there and they pretend there's a lion on the ground using this Apple intelligence. Or, when we're taking group photos and there's some guy photobombing, want to erase that guy, right? But when people take a photo, Apple believes that they're trying to accurately capture what happened at that moment. Even though they're releasing this feature of altering photos, they log the alteration in the metadata of the photo. So someone can still track exactly what happened. So they're allowing the ability to track the alteration.
Track the alterations. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so Craig reiterated that they really want to get it right and do it responsibly and only release it, as in the AI feature, when it's ready. So this interview really helped me to understand Apple's intentions as a responsible organization and the high standards of their ethics.
Yeah, and Craig really does a good job selling it. Just look at him.
Yeah, Craig he has a great voice that projects as convincing and trustworthy leader.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I think Apple's really lucky to have him. Speaking of, actually, let's jump around a bit.
Yeah.
Just on a side note, apparently a bunch of Apple's C-suite is leaving.
Oh, geez.
And they all directly reports to Tim Apple.
Oh! Yes, Tim Cook, yes.
So, yeah.
And what's interesting is that we don't see Tim Cook out there as much as this Craig now. And I think Apple has realized that Tim Cook is not the best spokesman.
Yeah.
He's no
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, exactly.
Yeah, so I can't really know the reason why they leave, but the biggest speculation, or the immediate speculation for me to have, is perhaps Tim Cook insists on only having his vision for Apple actually practiced in the enterprise.
Yeah, because this person is directly reporting to Tim Cook, so they're the ones interacting with him the most, right?
Yeah, so maybe this person does not feel heard by him.
Yeah.
And their opinion is not valued. I think that's the biggest reason why people leave, especially in an exciting workplace like Apple. Making it to the C-suite and leave, it gotta be really tough.
Something's gotta be going on.
Yeah. But that does not interfere with Apple's schedule of releasing iOS 18.1. You remember iOS 18.1? It's going to release writing tools.
Wow. Yes, we talked about that, the big exciting release. It's going to be able to summarize your emails, which pretty much every app can do nowadays.
Yeah. hang on to your seat. iOS 18.1 is going to be released on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday next week.
Wow. Now, this person particularly believes it's going to be October 28th.
Yeah, and they have a good reason to believe that, and that is because that is also the date that Apple is going to have their October scheduled event where they're going to announce new iPads, new Mac Minis, new MacBooks, and possibly the M4 chip MacBook Pro.
Yes.
We plan to cover this next week. We'll still call it Techtober, but it will be in November when we cover this. Speaking of AI features, Apple reportedly pulled out of OpenAI's funding.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And this is something we've been talking about, and oh boy. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it says here, Apple recently pulled out of talks to participate in the next round of funding for OpenAI as it seeks to raise $6.5 billion, according to the Wall Street Journal. NVIDIA and Microsoft are reportedly expected to participate in the funding round, with the latter expected to invest $1 billion.
Wow.
This comes after Microsoft already invested $13 billion in OpenAI.
Amazing.
Don't you have some smack to talk about OpenAI?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, all right. So the reason why Apple pulled out of OpenAI is because they're just not trusting the direction that it's going in. And obviously, look at all this money. OpenAI, open. It was supposed to be free and open and non-profit and everything. That's what all Sam Altman said. And then now look at this. They're getting Microsoft giving them $13 billion, you know? Mm-hmm. So obviously they're selling their soul. And they're probably not non-profit anymore. And so what does that mean? We're going to have to start paying for it. Which,
we already have to pay for the advanced models.
Yes, so that's perfectly fine with me. I like doing that. I'm an advanced Gemini person, but I know there's a lot of people that hate paying for anything. Just think about all the people on YouTube that are willing to watch ads as opposed to pay for a subscription, right?
It's a matter of principle.
It's a matter of principles, exactly.
Yeah.
And they feel like this tool is ours. You're going to call yourself OpenAI. It should be open to us.
Oh my God, yes. It's open to all.
Exactly.
AI.
That's the name of it, right? And so there has been a little bit of questions as to what's going on. There's also questions about sort of the military investment in OpenAI.
Yeah.
And so people out of principle are a little concerned about it. And so there's some validity to Apple saying, you know what, we're gonna try to go out on our own here, raise some money and do stuff on our own because we want to be in control of the security. We want to be in control of what our money is used for.
Yeah, you can't control a technology that is out there by a third party.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want Ramses to unsubscribe.
Interestingly, just when Apple was reported to pull out from OpenAI's investment, they released a study that revealed major AI flaws in OpenAI, Google, and Meta LLMs.
Ah, yes. Reasoning skills may not be as advanced as they seem.
These LLMs' reasoning skills, they're not so great.
And that has been, people have been complaining about that, right? And I think Apple realized that a lot of people went to ChatGPT, asked their question, got a really bad answer, and then just gave up right away and said, oh, this is junk, this is trash. And people gave up. I didn't even give Bard a chance, right? Just for the sake of the name. So they realized that there's a lot of sensitivity to this, and people are very turned off. They get the ick easily when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
And so then that's another positive spin on them being careful. They don't want their users who are tried and true dedicated fans to get the ick.
You know what's funny is one of my colleagues said that he's using AI to write cover letter for job application.
Yeah.
And people have called him out on it.
Yeah.
Saying it looks like the stuff you wrote is from AI.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have AI detectors that they'll put cover letters through and stuff. There must be a signature. I've always wondered that if you copy and paste, it'll be detected, but if you don't copy and paste it and you type it out yourself, will it be undetectable? I don't know if there's like an invisible signature or if is it literally the structure of the wording.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both. And I think the invisible signature is easy to release, right? You copy and paste through various Note apps,
Yeah.
and then you export as a PDF. Perhaps you can't detect the invisible signature anymore, but wording can certainly be detected. Just think about all the plagiarism detector in college or even earlier, right?
Yeah.
People use on students. There must be sentences and reasoning style that an AI model prefers to use.
Yeah, exactly. And then there must be a fingerprint, right?
Yeah, and
AI
that
fingerprint.
yeah, exactly.
But if you're a prompting pro, can you prompt it in a way that has it write it in a format that can trick the AI detectors?
For sure, yeah. If you input a lot of your personal information, even though the AI is still going to use the AI tone to give you your answer, certainly will look more different than something that's completely generated by AI.
And that's where Gemini Advanced comes into play. Because you can literally attach your resume and attach the job inquiry and then say, hey, please write a cover letter that matches my experience with the experience that's sought out. And then boom, it can do that. And that's where Gemini Advanced is huge. Because you can actually attach documents.
Are you capable of recording an episode of podcast without trying to sell Gemini Advanced to the audience?
No, I'm not. Even though if it's about Apple.
Yeah, even though it's about Apple, like Google really should pay you.
I know. Come on, Google. Hear us. Put us in. Give us some notifications.
Yeah, so we thought it's important that we actually look at this study kind of with a little bit more detail. Not quite down to the detail of reading every single word because I'm not in the field. I can't understand everything, but I thought this article is very interesting.
Oh, but if you could put it into Google Gemini.
I wonder what Gemini is going to say about an article that criticizes its reasoning ability. But Gemini is very humble.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, every time I type in an answer, I'll see on the bottom, Gemini says, I'm only an AI model. My answer may contain errors. Please fact check yourself, right? So I think Gemini is going to take this well, but ChatGPT is probably going to be like, this article is biased.
Yeah.
It only did this. It only did that. It's trash.
Exactly. They're always picking out the flaws.
Yeah, so the name of this article is GSM Symbolic, Understanding the Limitations of Mathematical Reasoning in Large Language Models. So this study really used the example of mathematical reasoning. And they use the GSM-AK benchmark. What is the GSM-AK benchmark? It comprises of 1,319 grade school math word problems, each crafted by expert human problem writers. These problems involve elementary arithmetic operations and require between 2 to 8 steps to solve. So to me, this is quite simple.
Yeah. It's basically just addition, subtraction, multiplication, division.
Yeah. Apple did a step beyond that. They built on top of the GSM-AK benchmark, and they call this GSM Symbolic benchmark. So what is GSM Symbolic benchmark? And this example is demonstrated in Figure 1. So on the left, you have the 1,300 or so example of grade school question. It's really easy. Here's the problem.
Sophie does this, her nephew does that.
A few numbers and then a question that is very simple. And the GSM symbolic template, they made variables. So instead of give Sophie or nephew, they replace those names with name and family. And then they assign the numbers to X, Y, and Z. And then they define the variable. Name could be a sample name, like it could be any name.
Yeah.
Family could be nephew, cousin, brother. X, Y, and Z could be numbers between the range of 5 to 100, and so on. And then they ask essentially the same question, but now all of these variables, name, family, numbers, total can be different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought this is really brilliant.
Yeah, it's a good way of making it symbolic.
All right, so what did they find? Our findings reveal that LLMs exhibit noticeable variance when responding to different instantiations of the same questions. Specifically, the performance of all models declines when only the numerical values in the question are altered in the GSM symbolic benchmark. Furthermore, we investigate the fragility of mathematical reasoning in these models and demonstrate that their performance significantly deteriorates as the number of clauses in a question increases. So for example, when they add a single clause that appears relevant to the question, they observe significant performance drops, up to 65% across all state-of-the-art models, even though the added clause does not contribute to the reasoning chain needed to reach the final answer.
Wow.
Yeah, so what do they mean by adding a single clause?
A single clause.
So I basically Googled what is an example of adding a single clause to a question. And here is Gemini's answer. The question is, do you know where the library is? And when you add a single clause, it becomes, do you know where the library is, located near the park?
Yes, and when I heard this, all I can think about was, do you know the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man? Do you know the Muffin Man who lives on Cherry Lane?
Yes, that's the clause.
That's the clause right there.
So it means that the LLMs, these various models from different companies, can all answer the question, do you know the Muffin Man, correctly?
Exactly. So they'll say yes, and then they can just spout out some random name, right?
General answer, whatever.
Yeah, but as soon as you specify on Cherry Lane, you've added this additional clause, now it increases the error rate.
Up to 65%.
Up to 65%,
Yeah.
because it was just BSing. It was basically lying to us that it wasn't lying per se. It knew a Muffin Man, but it did lie to us when it said, do you know the Muffin Man who lives on Cherry Lane? By giving us an answer with full confidence that was completely wrong, right? That they call that hallucinating.
Yeah.
in the AI world.
Yeah, so from my perspective, when the LLM answers a question such as, do you know the Muffin Man? It cross-references all the data sets that it has been trained on.
Yeah.
And you will find Muffin Man A, Muffin Man B, Muffin Man C, and Muffin Men are generally men that look like muffins.
No, they sell muffins. They're like bakers.
They sell muffins.
Yeah.
But then when you add a clause that lives on Cherry Lane, it actually has to reason a little bit. Like maybe they'll cross-reference Muffin Man plus Cherry Lane and they can't find anything.
Exactly.
So now they have to analyze answers under Muffin Man and analyze completely irrelevant answers under Cherry Lane and make up a bullshit answer.
And what's fascinating is that they will provide an answer. They will say, yes, that is, Jesper Parnevik or something like that. Or yes, that is Jasper. And then that's where it gets complicated, because you now have to confirm that. Or if you just believe it, you could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
And because it's going to come out with full confidence saying, yes, I know who it is. Alternatively, what's interesting is that you can train the models to say, no, I don't know that answer.
Or you can train the model to simply admit what it does know. Like I believe Gemini is like that.
Exactly.
There's a Jasper named Muffin Man. So this Muffin Man could be Jasper. And also there's a Jasper living Cherry Lane. So
but I don't even know if he makes muffins.
Yeah, but I don't know if he makes muffins. These two could be different people that share the same name, or they could be the same Jasper. I think that's what Gemini would say.
Yeah, exactly. And and that actually has to be trained by human reviewers for the bot to actually be able to admit when it doesn't know something and how to respond. And it's pretty fascinating to see that process going on, where the bot can give a no answer, but then I can say, well, that's not good enough. You have to tell me why it's no.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, it requires the person to do so much work, and the user to do so much
Yeah,
more. And when you try
exactly.
to put in a device like iPhone, Apple doesn't like any imperfection.
No. So they don't want you to have to be saying, no, that's wrong. Like when I use my AI for golf, they'll tell me a slice is a right to left shot, even though I'm a righty golfer. And I have to say, no, that's incorrect. And then they'll apologize. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm new at this. I want to keep learning, though. Thanks for correcting me.
Yes, this is a great example, right? When you're using Gemini, you're there rating every single answer that Gemini gives you.
Yeah, exactly.
You have the power to validate facts that you're a little bit unsure of. But when you apply these LLMs in large research projects that matters to human lives, that make decisions for human lives, such as police force,
Yeah, exactly.
making drugs,
Yeah.
these errors are very bad.
Yeah, it's very bad. And if I was asking about something I know nothing about, then I can't on real time spot when is it wrong, right? With the golf, I have expertise of my own. But if I was asking about pickleball or something like that, and they gave me completely wrong rules, I wouldn't know that it was wrong, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why Apple is realizing, okay, well, we got to make sure that we're not giving out wrong information. Think about the reputation they have with their maps.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the lesson they learned.
Yeah.
Apple Maps driving people off of cliffs. That has never gone away. I don't even know if that's a true story. But that is like, I hear that all the time to this day.
Yeah.
So they don't want that reputation again.
It's very hard to rebuild your credibility with consumers.
Yeah.
And perhaps the way LLMs were built is just fundamentally flawed. And you have to have a new way of thinking, of building an AI model that is truly smart, capable of reasoning, and ability to emulate an actual human that have no problem solving elementary math problems.
Exactly. And it's got to be done a little bit slower rather than rushed out. Right? There's
Going gung-ho on the wrong direction.
Yeah, there's the first person to do the model, right? They get a lot of credit and they get a big boon. But ultimately, the best model is what wins in the long term.
Yeah. And you can spend 13 plus $6.5 billion down the wrong direction, make your money,
Yeah.
be profitable, but ultimately go away because the limitation has been reached where there are too many errors.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really help with the longevity of a company.
No, exactly.
I think we have gone pretty deep with our philosophical reasoning today.
Yes, we have. We would make a good bot.
We will make a good bot criticizer.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, add in the comments anything else you guys are thinking of, you want us to discuss, want us to go a deeper dive into.
Yeah, are you guys interested in doing like a journal club of this Apple's paper on LLMs and we can go through all the figures together?
Maybe even a little live stream.
Oh, yes.
And then, actually that's something. Would you guys be interested in a live stream?
I think we can hold this live stream like around bedtime and maybe people can go to sleep listening to us babbling on about these numbers.
Oh yeah, they probably would fall right to sleep. But what if I fall asleep?
Yeah, that's more likely than the audience falling asleep.
Oh well, all right, well, thanks everybody.
Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, this was a great discussion.
Yeah, we'll talk about Apple's October event next week.
Oh yeah, hopefully there'll be some fun reveals.
Oh, see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance.